The story begins long before he ever stood in the bright, blinding spotlights of the America's Got Talent stage. His name was Marco de la Fuente, a 34-year-old Filipino mechanic from Quezon City. For years, he had lived a life most would consider ordinary: early mornings at the repair shop, long hours hunched over engines, and quiet evenings spent helping his mother with household chores. But behind that simple life was something extraordinary, a voice he rarely revealed to the world. Only a few people ever knew about his gift: his late father, his younger sister Clarice, and a handful of neighbors who overheard him singing while fixing motorcycles or hanging laundry outside. His father had been the one who first introduced him to Elvis Presley. When Marco was 8 years old, he remembered his father placing an old cassette player on the wooden table and saying, "Listen to this. It will change the way you feel music." The deep, rich voice of the king filled their small living room. Marco felt the sound vibrate through his chest, like a heartbeat wrapped in melody. That night, he imitated every note, every breath, every tone. His father laughed with joy, calling him Little Elvis. Years passed, but life did not remain kind. His father fell ill and died when Marco was 22. The loss crushed him, and singing became something painful rather than joyful, something that reminded him of the man he had lost. Still, whenever he felt overwhelmed, he would hum Elvis songs under his breath. And every time, even slightly, it soothed him. But it wasn't until a single video changed everything. One evening, while scrolling through his cracked old phone, he saw a clip of Nightbird singing on AGT. Her voice, her courage, her message, it struck Marco deeply. She had said, "You can't wait until life isn't hard anymore before you decide to be happy." The words hit him like a punch. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to imagine something impossible, standing on a stage, sharing his voice with the world. But dreams were one thing. Reality was another. Marco didn't have money for plane tickets. He didn't even have a passport. His mother discouraged the idea gently, worried he would only face disappointment. "You're talented," she said, "but the world is too big, too cruel." He nodded but never let the dream fully die. Then came the twist he never expected. His sister Clarice entered him secretly into an online AGT audition. She recorded him singing in the garage, disguised as a casual moment while he worked on a customer's scooter. He hadn't even realized she was filming until weeks later when he received an email from the AGT producers. The message said, "We would love to invite you to perform in Los Angeles for the live auditions." He thought it was a prank. But a second email arrived. Then a phone call. Then a video meeting. Suddenly, everything shifted. The producers arranged his travel and lodging, saying his story touched them. Clarice cried with pride. His mother hugged him tightly and whispered, "Make your father proud." The day he boarded the plane was the first time he had ever flown. He clutched the armrest during takeoff, eyes wide with fear and awe. Los Angeles felt like a dream. Towering buildings, endless traffic, neon lights everywhere, people speaking so fast he barely understood them. When audition day came, his nerves nearly got the best of him. Backstage, he saw incredible talents, dancers flipping in the air, singers warming up, magicians testing their illusions, children barely 12 but singing like angels. Who am I compared to them? He wondered. But he remembered his father's voice in his head. When you sing from the heart, people listen. When the stage manager called his name, he walked out with shaky knees. The bright lights blinded him. The massive crowd overwhelmed him. Simon Cowell stared at him with that familiar unreadable expression. Sofia Vergara smiled encouragingly. Heidi waved. Howie gave him a thumbs up. Marco felt like his chest might burst from nervousness. When Simon asked him who he was and why he was there, his voice nearly cracked as he said, "I am here for my father. And because I want to show that someone like me, from a small corner of the world, can still dream big." The audience clapped softly. Then the music began. It was Elvis Presley's Can't Help Falling in Love, but he sang it differently than most. He sang it slowly, deeply, pouring every piece of emotion he had carried for years. The first note alone made people freeze. The richness of his voice, the unmistakable Elvis tone yet still uniquely his, flowed across the theater. Conversation stopped. People leaned forward. Simon's eyes widened, something he rarely did. Halfway through the performance, something inexplicable happened. A lighting malfunction occurred above the stage. For a moment, the lights flickered violently and a loud pop echoed through the room. Marco froze in terror, thinking the performance would be ruined. The judges looked confused. The crew panicked for a second. But Marco did not stop singing. Even with the technical glitch, even with the frightening moment that stole everyone's attention, he pushed through. He tightened his grip on the microphone. He closed his eyes and delivered the most powerful section of the song, letting his voice swell, soar, and echo across the hall with raw emotion that felt almost supernatural. The audience rose to their feet halfway through the final chorus. By the time he whispered the last note, the entire room exploded in applause so intense that Marco stepped back in shock. People cheered like a stadium crowd. Some cried. Clarice, watching from backstage, covered her face and sobbed. Then came the twist nobody saw coming. Simon Cowell stood up. He didn't just stand. He clapped, slowly, deliberately, his expression softer than anyone had ever seen. He leaned forward and said, in a voice filled with sincerity, "I've been judging talent for many years. And every once in a while, someone reminds us why we still do this show. You didn't just sing Elvis. You told a story with your voice. A painful, beautiful story." This was breathtaking. Marco's heart thumped violently. He had trouble breathing. Then Simon reached toward the golden buzzer. The entire room screamed, but Simon paused. Instead of hitting it immediately, he said, "I want to ask you something first. Why did you stop singing for all those years?" The question hit Marco so deeply that he started crying. He explained about his father, about the grief that silenced him, and about how he was afraid he would never be good enough. Simon nodded and said, "Your father would be very proud. And the world deserves to hear you." Then he slammed his hand down on the golden buzzer. Gold confetti erupted from the ceiling, fluttering around Marco like a storm of sparkling sunlight. He looked upward, letting the pieces fall on his face, imagining his father watching from somewhere above. The audience went wild. The judges stood again. The producers backstage cheered. Even the stagehands clapped. Marco covered his face, overwhelmed with emotion, and then looked toward the sky whispering, "This is for you, Dad." But the story did not end there. Golden buzzer winners receive instant fame, but fame comes with challenges. The weeks following his audition were chaotic. Interviews, rehearsals, meetings with producers, photo shoots, pressure from social media. Some people online mocked his accent. Others accused him of copying Elvis too much. The negativity hurt him more than he expected. But messages from Filipinos around the world lifted him up. They said he inspired them, that he was a symbol of hope. Then came the live shows. This time, he chose a different Elvis song, "If I Can Dream." A song about hope, pain, and longing for a better world. He rehearsed non-stop, determined to prove his audition wasn't a fluke. But just moments before performing live, disaster struck again. He lost his voice. Hours before showtime, he woke up with a painful soreness in his throat. Panic filled him as he tried to sing a note and heard only a rasping whisper. Doctors backstage said it was severe vocal strain. They gave him medicine, steam treatments, and strict instructions to rest. But he had to perform in less than 2 hours. Producers asked if he wanted to withdraw. He refused. When his turn arrived, he stepped onto the stage with a voice still fragile. As the music began, he closed his eyes, thought about his father, his family, his country, his journey. He didn't force the song. He didn't chase perfection. He just sang with sincerity, letting emotion lead each word. And the miracle happened. His voice returned, not fully, but enough. Enough to move the audience. Enough to bring tears to the judge's eyes. Enough to remind everyone why he earned the golden buzzer. Simon wiped his eye and said, "You are what this show is about. Courage, heart, truth." Marco advanced to the finals. In the finale, he performed a medley of 3 Elvis songs, one soft, one powerful, and one triumphant. By the end, he received one of the longest standing ovations in AGT history. Whether he won the competition or not didn't matter anymore. He had already won hearts across the world. And when he returned to the Philippines months later, he was no longer just a mechanic. He was a symbol of hope, living proof that even someone from a small neighborhood, someone who doubted himself for years, could rise to a stage seen by millions. His mother hugged him as he stepped out of the airport and whispered, "Your father was with you on that stage." Marco smiled, tears welling up again, knowing deep inside that she was right.